What's up everyone, Blip this here. Today I want to talk about the 2013 MacBook Air 11-inch and how it holds up in 2023 for my needs as a traveler. Let's get into that. An introduction to this MacBook Air for those who don't know, it only weighs 2.38 pounds, 1.08 kilos. That's why it's called the Air. Super thin, super light, and you can see that I can fan myself with it. Easy to carry, easy to pack. Okay, it packs a 1.3 gigahertz dual core i5 processor with 4 gigabytes of RAM, and in this model here I have the 256 gigabytes of storage and a HD Intel Graphics 5000 on it. Okay, very basic normal stuff and compared to computers now, but in 2023 it actually works really great for me. Now, computers only work great for your use, for what you need to use it for, right? And so let's talk about what I normally use my laptop for. There are 4 things that I normally use my laptop for. Number 1 right now for sure is learning how to code. Using Microsoft Visual Code, I have that installed on this computer and I use that daily just to learn how to code. And it works great. It's super fast, and entering in code doesn't take a lot of resources or a lot of power, but it's really great. Second thing, web browsing, video watching, Netflix, the normal multimedia stuff. Okay, that's the second thing I use it for. The third thing that I use it for is Photoshop. Now, I use Photoshop to edit social media posts and stuff like that. Very light work, nothing ultra professional, so it really works great for what I need it for. The fourth thing that surprised me is that I'm using a 3D design software called SketchUp, and I'm learning how to use that right now. I'm trying to build my dream home or something like that, kind of visualize that, and this software helps that. It does use a lot of resources, but this computer works great with it. So those are the 4 main things that I normally use my laptop for. Let's get into the pros and cons of using this laptop. So the pros of using this laptop is actually quite simple. Size factor, right? That's the whole reason why I'm using this, is because I'm a traveler. I go from place to place all the time. I need something that's easily packable, portable, and I can use anywhere on the go. This is it. Using this on an airplane flight is absolutely great compared to my 16-inch MacBook Pro. The reason why, when you whip out the 16-inch MacBook Pro, it just feels too big. It takes up this entire flight tray. It feels like the people sitting beside you can see everything you're doing on your laptop, and sometimes you kind of want that, feel like you want to have a little bit of privacy, which you really don't actually, but it's just more of that feel. And it doesn't take up a lot of space, whereas when you whip this out on the flight tray, you still have some space around the tray to put other things if you want to, because it's the 11-inch model. Really great. The ability to work fast on the go is the other thing that I wanted to say, is that because it's powerful enough with the i5 processor, it's powerful enough to take on whatever you need it to do, especially if you'd say you're a copywriter, or you want to kind of design or think about your next script for YouTube, for instance, like me, and you want to type, get inspired, and you want to start right away. This is it. Just whip this open, and it's really great. One thing I should say, I mention, is that the length, or the width of the laptop is so good compared to if you're trying to work on an iPad, where the iPad is much more narrow. It sits on your lap a lot weirder with the iPad, whereas compared to this, you can just put on your lap. It feels natural, feels like you're in control. That's what I really love about this, because the full-size keyboard right there is an ultra productivity feature. It's great. Whereas the iPad, you kind of it would have this weird balance to it. It's kind of weird. So I think that's really great. The other pros is I'm a real big fan of old stuff. So I wish Apple would bring this back, but obviously the light up logo is one of the pros of this. Being seen with the light up logo is kind of cool in my opinion. Really retro. but a little silly, right? A little silly. But the other silly pro I have about this is that a lot of times I just take this out with me here. I'm currently in Bangkok, Thailand. The sun is just beating down in the afternoon when I go out for lunch, and I'll just take this sometimes because I don't have an umbrella. I'll just use it as a shade cover like this, protect myself from the sun. Because it's so light, it doesn't, my forearms don't give out when I do this for a long period of time. It's so awesome that way. And that's one of the pros of it. Now, admittedly, there are some cons with this thing because it's a 10-year-old device. Of course, there are going to be some cons to it, right? Let's get into that. First things first, screen resolution. The screen. It's an old LCD panel. It's not going to look as sharp as these newer laptops that you're going to see out in the world right now. Of course, back then, 10 years ago, this was actually really cool. Still today, when I use it, it doesn't strain my eyes. It just feels great. It's still sharp enough for me to feel like I'm using a modern device. So I have no complaints there. The other thing is it doesn't have USB-C. So these are all USB-A. You see that? Both sides. It doesn't have USB-C. So if you have a lot of USB-C devices, you can either use an adapter, but the speed, you don't get the USB-C speeds of today. So that's something to make sure that you are aware of. The third thing is AirDrop is a lot slower. So when you're sending files from your computer to another computer or your phone to this Mac Air, you'll notice that it takes a lot longer to accept files. That's what I noticed. Internet speeds connecting to Wi-Fi feels slower compared to my MacBook Pro. I just don't think that it can accept faster internet connection, if that's the right way of saying that. It just feels a lot slower. Doing heavy video editing is also a con on this thing. If you have multiple clips splicing, moving back and forth, trying to process a whole thing, this thing is gonna kill it. That will kill this device. It will heat up for sure. So don't do that. I also noticed with this laptop that with every software update, it gets slower for some reason. Right now, it's capped at Mac OS Big Sur. That's something that you should be aware of with this laptop. That means that apps that require anything over Big Sur won't have compatibility with it. And I can't remember some of the apps, but there are some out there that are like that. But for my use, I just use WhatsApp, OneNote, Microsoft Visual Code. I found I don't really actually have a problem with that. The last con that I have with this is the battery life. Being that it's a 10-year-old device, the battery obviously has degraded compared to when it was brand new. And I remember when I first had this laptop, it can hold up the whole day. One full charge can hold up the whole day. Now, a full charge will give me about 3 to 4 hours, depending on how I use it. And make sure the screen brightness is a little bit lower, but the lower I get, the longer I get to use the juice. But that's something you can be aware of. Unless you're willing to invest in a brand new battery and get that reinstalled, I would prefer only using Apple's products. Then it can revive this whole thing. But for me, it's not that worth it. For what I use it for, a very light task, this is what I normally just grab out, and just when I feel inspired, I'll start working, stuff like that. So those are my pros and cons of using this device here in 2023, and it's really great. Still really useful. I do recommend anybody that has the ability to get your hands on this to use it as a day-to-day device. Absolutely. Students, someone who just uses for light browsing, or maybe just especially someone like a copywriter or something, you're gonna love this device. Absolutely great. But yeah, that's all I really wanted to share with you in this video. I hope you really enjoyed it. I hope that it was very helpful for you to making your decision on buying this laptop as well. And until then, I'll see you in my next video. Take care. Peace.